let's talk about Full Gear. We got the title up by Ryan today because he actually did win predictions last night by one. Um, the obviously deciding factor was the MJF Moxley match,
Oh,
and
oh.
I guess we can start there because that was like the biggest news coming out of the pay per view. Obviously, uh, after it was all said and done, was MJF is your new AEW World Champion. Thoughts?
Not surprised, obviously. Um, I I
Let
don't.
it be known that he's still way behind in the overall prediction rankings. I haven't had time to update those yet either, but he only gained one match. Just let's just
Okay,
throw that out there.
just look at my title. Um, so the I don't like the way they did it. I don't think it makes any sense. They weren't building
Didn't I
toward like
say that? Wasn't that a scenario that we threw out on the show though?
yeah, but it's a scenario that a lot of people have thrown out for the last like 3 weeks. But the thing is, it still doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, there's never been any hint of Regal working with MJF. There's never been any dissent between Regal and anybody else in BCC. All the issues in BCC had nothing to do with Regal or Moxley. So it doesn't really make any sense except for like a Regal being like, "Oh, like I see myself in him" type of shit. But that still doesn't give him any reason to turn on BCC.
But he
The
also
whole
kind of
thing
saw
is
himself
just
in
fucking
Regal's, I mean,
stupid.
in Moxley too, so irrelevant. But here's the thing:
Yeah, it just
is
doesn't make any sense.
I thought it was going to actually happen when I saw them come out. So when they came out, he's been talking to Regal and making it a point to act like he's talking to Regal off camera or whatever a lot. And I just thought that was weird because he never really did that before. So the
Hmm.
more that he did that, and then he was doing it on the way out to the ring through the backstage area or whatever last night, I was like, this is fucking weird. Like he doesn't ever do that, and Regal definitely never goes through the crowd with him. So I thought those two things were kind of a hint. And then if you want to, you want to do shoot version, let's Regal turned on him because he hit him in the face with the title when he put that bitch over his shoulder. I don't know if you saw that part or not. He was in when he was in the crowd. He went to go
Yeah,
throw the title up, and he hit fucking Regal in the face with it. That shit was funny. That's why he turned
yeah,
on him right there.
maybe. Um, I also just the way that it played out didn't really make any sense because if the whole thing is for Regal to turn on Moxley anyway, then why would Regal come out and stop MJF from using the fucking ring? Just let him use it. Who cares? Like the whole point of it is clearly to write off MJF having the ring, but to replace that like theme in his character with the brass knuckles. That's the whole like because he can't have the ring, which is the casino whatever the fuck ring for getting a title shot if he's already the champion, and
Dynamite
that's coming up.
Diamond Battle Royale ring or whatever the hell it's
Right.
called.
So somebody else is going to win that. So they're going to have to use it. So storyline wise, it's not going to make any sense for him to have it and be punching people with it. So now he needs something else to cheat with. So getting Regal's brass knuckles is what they've come up with, I guess. But the turn itself still makes no fucking sense.
Now heel the heel T or the face tease to go back heel turn makes sense for MJF, but Ryan is saying that it doesn't make any sense for Regal to turn heel, and I pretty much agree. And it's going to be weird to see how they tell that story because they clearly have an idea of what they're going to say on Dynamite, right? Like they
Right.
didn't do that at the drop of a hat. They have a plan to try to make this make sense. I'm just very interested because I don't see how they're going to make it that way, honestly.
I mean, like I said, they're probably just going to do the like, oh, I see so much of myself in him shit. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense because he said that about Danielson. He said that about Moxley. Like, on top of that, you're kind of fucking up one of the hottest factions that you have right now with
Well, my
BCC.
issue is that you're trading Danielson, Claudio, and Moxley, who you personally scouted for WWE at one point and saw yourself in all three of these men,
To a guy you didn't take
and you
for
traded
WWE.
it for a guy that you said that needed to show you more in an email and completely ignored. Yeah, that's weird to me.
Yeah. And also, it's not like MJF needs Regal in any sense. Like, not storyline, not non storyline. Like, in what fucking way does he need Regal, like, as a manager? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I don't like the way that it was done. It doesn't really make any sense to me. I think it was probably the most boring way they could have gone with everything. I like the way the match was worked because obviously being in New Jersey, everybody was cheering for Max, so Mox immediately just starts working heel. It worked out really well. I was expecting more like a double turn kind of thing, which would have been fine. Like heel BCC would be great, but the way that they did it, it just now you have Regal gone, so the whole Blackpool part of the Blackpool Combat Club is no longer there. But
They'll
then
probably just
post
call it the
show,
Combat Club because I think if you notice, I think you probably saw the pictures on Twitter as well. They came out to console Moxley and tell him what happened. The rest of
yeah,
the club.
it's like old video, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
they
so
all,
there's like, so I think this actually might help them get all back on the same track because now they have something to go against, which is MJF. Does that make sense? And Regal. So like, you know how there was dissension between Danielson and Yuta? Well, Yuta and Danielson both ran out there to help out Moxley and help him get up and check him out or whatever and tell him what happened. So I think that actually helps them get cohesive again because they were clearly not doing that with
what's the name of the group now though? You still call it Blackpool, even though the one
No, I
fucking British
said just
guy's
call it
gone?
Combat Club.
Yeah, I guess doesn't have the same ring to it. Um, yeah, I guess. All right. I think we've covered that enough. The match itself was really good. I like the match a lot. Working the knee, the whole match was very like I said, I like the way that Mox kind of picked up immediately that the crowd was just gonna boo him no matter what and just started working heel. It was great. Um I'm not sure I mean it definitely wasn't like the best match on the card or anything, but it was better than wrestling wise, I think it was better than I thought it was gonna be. So
Talking about the MJF Moxley match still.
hmm
Okay, yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, it turned out pretty good. I think it was better than their first match that they had together.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so best match on the card, trios title match
Ooh.
or Tony Storm Hater.
Or Tony Storm Hater was really good. The trios match was really good. The four way was really fucking good.
Yeah, four way was good, but I gotta show love to Hater and Tony Storm though. Like that was. I mean, obviously, if I'm picking, it's the trios, obviously.
Do you
But
think do you think you might be rating that one higher because the other two women's matches on the card were kind of not great?
I don't think I don't think the Saraya Britt Baker match actually was that bad, honestly.
Okay.
I think it was solid. I think it was a solid match. I think I'm in total agreement with Jr. where I say where he said this could be a step to like a huge rivalry between those two. Um, kind of like Thunder Rosa and Britt could have been if Thunder Rosa wasn't an asshole, basically. um, uh,
Yeah.
but basically, Paige said exactly in the media scrum what I was saying yesterday on the show. Yes, the promos weren't the best or whatever, but that's not what the whole thing was initially supposed to be about anyway. It wasn't supposed to be heel versus face. It was just supposed to be a dream matchup between Saraya and fucking Britt Baker, and they kind of worked themselves into a fucking storyline that made no sense because Britt comes off looking like the face, like you were saying yesterday, and then that makes you not like Saraya's comebacks, and that because Britt's been the heel for what 2 years, so
Mhm.
and your biggest heel in that division before Jade came in. Uh, so it didn't make any sense for Saraya to use the leverage that she was using in her promos, like you were saying yesterday with the Madison Square Garden and all that shit, which is valid, super valid. But what I was saying yesterday was that's not why care about the match anyway. So those promos didn't matter to me. I wanted to see Britt Baker versus Saraya because that was a dream matchup, and I do think that now that they got the first one out of the way and everything seems good, Saraya was in good spirits in the media scrum and stuff like that. You saw Britt Baker come out later again to help out Hater, so she was clearly uninjured in that match as well, which is a good sign.
A little more.
Because not everybody got out of that unscathed. Tony Storm looked like she broke her fucking nose. So,
Pack two, actually.
yeah, Pac
Pack.
2. So you you definitely didn't get out of the pay per view unscathed. I did call in the Discord. I was in a Discord with a few people, and I said as soon as Jungle Boy came out, I said, "Oh shit, he's got his hair up. He's gonna bleed." And then literally like a minute later into the match, he started bleeding.
It
I
didn't
was
take
like,
long.
"God damn!"
It did
Well,
not take long.
you gave yourself up with that. Like he didn't want all that blood in his hair. I don't blame him. But anyway, but no, I do believe that the Saraya Britt Baker is only gonna get better. It has no other choice, but to because why would Britt Baker just leave it alone now? You know what I'm saying? Like Saraya winning made the most sense if they wanted to continue the feud anyway. If Saraya comes in there and immediately loses to Britt, then Britt has nothing to fight for. So even if they end up turning Britt face
I mean,
or even massive heel on Hater, however they're going to turn this,
yeah.
I'm cool with honestly. because eventually it's going to be kind of like what we thought Blackpool Combat Club was going to be initially, where Moxley was going to be champ, and then Danielson didn't get the title, and then Danielson was going to turn on Moxley eventually because Danielson couldn't be champion and couldn't beat Mox. So we all thought Danielson was going to be the one that eventually turned heel, but of course that didn't happen. That could happen here with like Britt and Hayter, where either Hayter turns massive heel on Britt and turns Britt back face, or Britt turns on Hayter and catapults Hayter even more than she already is because she's already getting cheered by the audience anyway.
I think I think it makes sense, right? Okay. I don't think you have to do that with Britt. I don't think you have to put her against Hayter in any way. Like the way that things played out last night, where it seemed like she was just like fully in support of her winning the title and was just like going to help her out and all that stuff, that works for me. You can have Britt take a back seat for a little bit. Um, you don't even have to have her necessarily go against Hayter during Hayter's run. You can keep her. You can have her go for the fucking TBS title, like because that's a credible person for Jade to lose to. There's a lot of stuff you can do with her without breaking up that little clique that I think would still work in the narrative. Tony Storm,
Yes. Big question. What do you do with Tony Storm?
right? Because she does still have like a valid claim to the belt because she did lose to interference and bullshit.
And we said this
Um,
yesterday on the show. What happens if they have their first ever change at an interim position? Well, here it is. Now, if Thunder Rosa comes back, because like I said yesterday on the prediction show, Thunder Rosa might be more inclined to come back now because she thinks she can go ahead and beat a heel Hater, but Hater's getting cheered now. So if whatever she was thinking, that's out the window. But let's say she comes back, it's almost impossible not to make that a triple threat, right?
well, you saw what Tony said about that at the scrum, right?
Well, he said if Thunder Rosa doesn't eventually come back, he's going to have to make a very difficult decision on turning that thing into not an interim title anymore.
Well, before he even started talking about whether or not it was a difficult decision, he said, um, what was his wording? He said they will, they might explore options to make it not an interim title before he even started talking about whether or not Rosa was going to come back. So they might just say, "Hey, Rosa, you're stripped of it because you've been gone too fucking long, and this is the real champion now. And if you want it when you come back, you can compete for it when you get back." Um,
I mean, but all this underlying shit, and we'll talk about media scrum anyway. I kind of wanted to focus just on the pay per view itself, but
mm.
because we're already there, uh, doesn't all this underlying shit all the way back from the all out media scrum just give you the feeling that they are also under the impression that her injury is bullshit?
Tony definitely seemed like it.
And Tony
Tony,
did too
sorry,
at
Tony,
all out.
Tony Storm. I mean,
Yeah,
it's very
well,
confusing. We got
I
three
think
different
both
fucking
Tonys.
Tonys.
I think both
Yeah,
Tonys do.
yeah. Tony Schiavone. There's this is bullshit. Um, so yeah, I don't know that it was bullshit, but I think what I said at the time was she probably really did have like an injury that she needed to address. It's just that it didn't have to be addressed right then. It's like one of those injuries that you could work through for a while. And she probably had been working through it, but like I'd mentioned, she it did seem like she had slowed down a little bit in some of her recent matches. It was just a question of whether or not that was because she was phoning it in all of a sudden, or because she was working through an injury. But either way, she could have done one more fucking match to drop the title, and she chose not to. So chose not to like pretty last minute too, probably when she heard that she was about to lose it, which is fucking weird. And if I'm Tony Khan, I don't reward that behavior by having her come back and regain her title. That's fucking silly. So, um, I don't know what Thunder Rosa's plan is, but I don't think whatever her plan is going to result in her coming back and winning regardless. She's going to come back, she's going to lose, it's going to clear up all the fucking like whatever about interim and not interim, and then she can be relegated to the top of the mid card.
And the craziest part about that whole thing for me, dude, is it wasn't like they told her to go out and lose to Marina Shafir, drop the
Yeah,
title to her.
I know.
And that's no
It's
shade to her, it's just that she's not being built up,
right,
obviously, is what I'm saying.
right.
You're being told to drop it to Tony Storm,
My
who's clearly
character
been
wouldn't
built
lose.
up
My character
and
wouldn't
clearly
lose
has
this
a name
match.
and a following, and you've already had the title forever, and you got mad because you had to drop it to Tony Storm. What?
Look, her
Who
character
else are you
wouldn't
gonna
lose that
drop it
match.
to?
Her
That's not
character
part
would
of my
not lose that
character. I don't think
match.
my character would do that.
My character wouldn't lose that match. Hulk Hogan has a 10-inch dick, but Terry Bollea has a 6-inch dick. That's how that works. Um, that's a matter of public record, by the way. I don't know what the fuck the Thunder Rosa plan angle like idea is with like It's Shawn Michaels without the leverage, is what it is. Like you don't when you come back, you don't have the clout, you don't have the fan support, you don't have the anything to weasel your way back into getting the title right back. So
Yeah, I'm
none of
not
it
saying
makes
she
any
didn't
sense to
get good
me.
reactions and shit when she came out, but it was
Yeah,
almost kind of like after the bell rang, then what? Unless you were going against Britt, like what stood out? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
and even Britt's been on record to say that, like on the Swerves podcast and stuff like that, that they clearly have really good chemistry together. So that is like Brett versus Sean type deal. But neither Tony nor Britt, and if anybody was in the position, it would be Britt to be in that
Mm,
Sean position where she could literally have leverage behind a decision,
yeah.
whereas Thunder Rosa definitely does not. So yeah, that was weird to me. That's weird to me. But let's talk about the actual matches. Let's go through. I'll try to remember them in order because I don't have the notebook in front of me. I have it in the bedroom where I was checking off and Xing out, keeping the
Mm,
records. But anyway, pre-show,
for
Jun
sure.
Akiyama and Eddie Kingston. What you think about that? The best friends versus best friends and Danhausen, worst
Are you
kept
gonna do one
secret
at a
ever.
time, or are you just gonna list all of them? What the fuck?
No, I'm just doing
So,
I'm going to say what the three matches were on the
okay.
pre-show, and then of course they went against the Factory, and then of
Okay,
course
no
you
stretch.
had Brian Cage and Ricky Starks.
Okay. Starks beating Cage kind of telegraphed the ending of the show for me because
That's what
we
I
kind of
said. That's literally
we
what I
kind
said in the Discord that I was talking
yeah,
about that I was in. I said if Starks wins, doesn't that kind of tell you who's going to win in the main event?
yeah,
Because we all think that Ethan Page is winning the whole thing, right?
right.
And Ethan Page clearly has a story built up already with the firm turning on MJF and MJF firing the firm.
Hmm.
So as soon as uh as soon as Ricky Starks wins that match and you know it's Ricky Starks versus Ethan Page, you already know Ethan Page is winning, which means MJF would be winning the main event.
Right.
Because it
Exactly.
makes no sense for Ethan Page to go through all that shit and then get dumped on his head by Moxley twice and lose in a 7 minute match.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So it was a good match though. They it was I think it went what like 8-10 minutes something like that. It wasn't anything crazy, but he hit him with a pretty clean Rochambeau, which I was
The
surprised
thing
by
I like
considering how
about their
big his ass
pre-show
is.
is that they have 3 matches on it and they gave them all really good amounts of time because your pre-show is an hour, so you're working in the
Yeah.
video packages and that instead of video package and then talk about that match for 10 minutes, video
Oh,
package, talk about that match for 10 minutes, then throw a fucking 3 minute fucking single female match out there like WWE does. It's so fucking annoying.
yeah. Yeah, they each went about 10 minutes, I think. This was like 10 minutes match, 10 minutes promo, 10 minutes match, 10 minutes promo. So, yeah, I mean, it works out really well. The Starks match was good. The Eddie Kingston Akiyama match was really good. Um, I was I expected it to be, like a decent match, but it ended up being a lot better than I think I had expectations for too. Um, Obviously Eddie cared a lot about it, so he was going to put a lot of effort into it, but they didn't really have any fucked up spots or anything like that. It was pretty straightforward match.
By the way, why do you need the 3 announcers to hype up the thing? Just have Eddie Kingston have the last match of the pre-show and then give him the
Uh,
fucking live mic, dude. He'll
right.
get you some
Th-
buys. He'll get
They'll,
you
they'll
people. He'll get people to buy the fucking pay-per-view, dude.
they could just replay his. Oh, it's 7:54 in 20 seconds. Go buy the goddamn pay per view. I can just do that for every pay per view. Just play that
They
as a
said, "What
clip.
the hell are we even doing? Like, what? Like, if you ain't
Yeah.
bought the pay-per-view yet, man, like, you're probably not going to. Like, I don't understand. I never understood that concept of like, oh man, we're about to go live in 30 seconds. It's gonna take you fucking 5 minutes to order the fucking pay-per-view. So
Also,
like, what?
that's not. Yeah, that's not my. That's like if I'm watching it, I'm not watching it. Watching these matches, like they better fucking convince me to buy it in these 3 matches. I've either already decided I'm gonna watch it or not, and I've bought every AEW pay per view, so it's not like you know. But I do buy them last second sometimes, but it's definitely not because they were like reminding me that I needed
This
to.
is the one I bought. This one the earliest out of all of them, and even
Mm.
though our hype scale was only at 8 yesterday on the prediction show going into it, this is the earliest I've ever bought a pay-per-view. So
I think I bought it like 30 minutes before. I mean, it wasn't like last minute or anything, but I
I
usually don't
bought it
buy
on
them
like
super
Tuesday.
early. I
I
I
bought it
buy them when I'm 100% sure I'm not doing anything that night, and that like But I've been able to buy every one because I just tend to not make plans when I know there's going to be one. Um, so then the best friends match with the factory and Danhausen and all that. Um,
Suplex
I
City, Danhausen.
Yeah, fucking said that. I said Suplex City in the YouTube chat when I was watching on YouTube. Because he came in there and started German suplexing fucking everybody. Um I thought the match was fine. I am glad they didn't do the fucking Danhausen under the ring shit, actually. I think I had mentioned that at one point.
You like the serious Danhausen theme? Because I know a lot of people are huge fans of his other theme, the comedy one, where it's like the Danhausen show theme song.
Oh no, his music was sick as fuck. I
Yeah.
liked it a lot. I do wish that his makeup was more different. Because
Well,
some of the
that was
pictures that
pretty OG. That was like the OG makeup right there.
yeah, but some of the pictures that he's put on social media, it's like a more like a skull kind of thing, like deep sunken fucking black stuff, and like it's different. It's more like
I think part of that honestly is because
Darby
he
Allen.
trademarked his face paint. So I don't think he
Mhm.
wanted to deviate too far away from what he's already trademarked because he doesn't want people to use whatever the different face paint would be and hurry up and trademark that now that they know he can trademark face paint styles and shit for
Yeah,
like merch and stuff. So I think that might be actually part of it, honestly.
should have known that from the Ultimate Warrior. Um, yeah, the match itself was good though. Uh, I don't I don't know how long they keep the evil Danhausen thing going because he's such a merch
Well, he was
mover with
backstage
his.
later on and he kind of acted like normal Danhausen.
Mm, okay, they might
Yeah,
just bring it.
I wouldn't mind a mankind situation.
Or just bring it out like fucking the demon for Finn Balor was for a while.
I don't know about all that, but the mankind situation where you come out with the evil music, and then when you win, you turn into
It's the
Happy
good music.
Danhausen and go back to the other shit. Like that's what he
Yeah.
used to do. That's what mankind used to do.
Yeah, I
They
know.
had the two different theme songs or whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be okay. And then you could be
So
have a nice day, happy go lucky Danhausen on the outside, and then as soon as you get in the match, you're fucking deranged fucking Danhausen.
speaking of two different theme songs, when the Elite came out to Wayward Son, my first thought was, did they license to play this twice or are they about to fucking lose? Because I was like, well, they could play their regular music when they win, or they could have licensed it to play it twice, but it's probably pretty fucking expensive. Or they might just be about to lose, so they don't have to worry about playing it more
Well,
than once.
remember there was a rumor a few weeks back that they tried to trademark the Wayward Sons, and everybody thought they was going to be going under that because they can't be called the Young Bucks forever because that doesn't make any sense when you're older rather.
Jungle
But
Man,
Jungle Boy makes sense though. Just like Tony Khan said, Nature Boy is the
Nature
pretty
Boy.
much the exact same fucking thing. So like, I don't understand why people. Well, if it turned into a nickname like Jack Perry was saying in the scrum, then he doesn't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. You can be called Jungle Boy Jack Perry for the rest of your career. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
It's like he said, it's more of a nickname now because he doesn't do all the silly shit that he was doing as the actual character. Just
They
like
still called
Luchasaurus
him
doesn't do all the silly
Gorilla
shit either.
Monsoon even when he was no longer big.
Um,
Um,
Anyway, so like they could do it like that but I feel like they're gonna play it at least 6 more fucking times
yeah.
because they got the goddamn best of 7 now. So,
Oh,
do
yeah.
we even count that as a loss
So they
until this whole thing is over? Because they counted that as the first match. So technically, we don't know. They're not gonna keep trading the titles back and forth if Elite wins it.
no. They did explain this. So it's not trading the titles back and forth. Whoever wins the series wins the titles. So
But
it's not
that's
going
my
back and
point.
forth.
So
What
that
do you
first
mean?
one technically isn't even a title match because it's a part of a bigger picture, right?
No, it still was, but now as part of the best of seven, whoever wins the best of seven ends up with the titles. They don't switch back and forth. Each match is not a title match. Um, but the whole series is a title series. So no, they explained that. They did kind of give away the Kenny Omega being at Wrestle Kingdom thing where they posted the fucking dates for everything, and then the Wrestle Kingdom date wasn't on the list. I forget who brought that up at the scrum, but I was like, yeah, that's pretty obvious. And then watching the crossover
It might
thing,
have
I
been
was
Will
like,
Washington, but he's got bigger problems on his hands right now with Max Caster coming after him and sort of.
dude, Anthony Bowen's cracking up as soon as he started to even ask a question. Made me laugh. But yeah,
All right, let's talk more about AEW Full Gear here. Okay, so let's get into all right, the
Norway.
Jade Cargill Nyla
Oh,
Rose match, the weakest match on the card, but
yeah.
we also agree that it wasn't one of the better stories being built either. Like it I like that they put the time and effort behind the story, it just wasn't clicking.
I I appreciated the stolen finishers. I thought that was interesting and something
Yeah,
that doesn't get done enough.
I want to say that match like towards the end it started getting ramped up a
Hmm.
little bit and I was like, "Damn, I kind of it kind of sucks that this match is about to end because they're finally starting to hit
Hit
kind of
their
a
stride.
groove. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Um, yeah, the first half of the match was really slow, and then the last half of it picked up. But the problem is the match was only like 7 or 8 minutes, so that
There
last
was a
half was
part
only a
that
few minutes long.
uh Bix had mentioned on Twitter. He said it kind of looked like it might have been clunky because Jade could have like got stunned a little bit during a move or something because she was
Uh,
kind of really clunky and slow for a while, but then she turned it on at the end, so maybe she got over whatever the initial like I don't know wind knocked out of her,
I think there
anything like
was.
that, something like that.
I don't remember if I'm confusing it with another match, but I feel like there's a spot where she hit the ropes weird, like her head or something. I don't know. I might be confusing it with a different spot in a different match, but I do remember thinking like, "Oh, that probably fucking hurt for real." Um, and so maybe I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it, but no, like it did start to get better near the end. The stolen finisher stuff was really interesting. Uh, Vicky coming out in the Rhea Ripley shirt that's a ripoff of her late husband's merch was confusing. Um,
She used to have that shirt way back in the day though.
was it the same font and everything?
Rhea Ripley ripped it off of Vicky OG long time ago.
I don't remember how. I know that obviously there was the "I'm Your Bobby" shirt with the same font and everything, but I don't remember the mommy one. Um, but yeah, I saw some people say some shit about that, and I was just like, bro, that's that's not. Like I understand it's Rhea Ripley merch, but it's still Eddie Guerrero merch, kinda. So it makes sense. Um, I I didn't hate this match. I thought it was better than the. You're not gonna like this. I thought it was better than the Saraya Britt Baker match.
No, I completely disagree with that, and I'm a huge Nyla and Jade fan, but it was not better than that match. I don't think so.
I just thought that the Britt Baker match was. It felt like they were moving at half speed, and I understand why. Because this is somebody that's just coming back. They probably haven't really had time to get in like a lot of practice training, whatever, in the time since they were cleared. And Britt probably felt like she had to be super careful with her and stuff like that. But watching the match felt like it was moving in slow motion. And there were a lot of spots where it was just like it was too it was like way too like cooperative for me. I felt like um it wasn't like the way it was laid out was fine and nobody really fucked anything up. Like the flow of the match made sense, but it just felt so slow. Like it was so careful
I mean,
that it was
it
taking me
was
out of it.
to me it was faster than the other one, but it should have been. So it doesn't. I mean, the other two are two giants. That's like Andre versus Big John Studd compared to fucking, like it makes sense that they were slower. That Nyla and Jade to me was slower and more clunky and shit that's going on and didn't hit their stride till the end. The issue with the Brit Saraya thing, there's two nitpicks I have. One, if you're gonna be a longer uh match because you clearly had more time than Nyla and Jade did, then I feel like the slow part at the beginning should have been done better.
Mm.
And then you should have ramped it up instead of pretty much being the same pace the entire time. Because I feel like they were the same pace the entire time and didn't actually get faster like a Jade and Nyla did. And the other nitpick I have is I did not like the fake neck injury spot. Don't like that.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that.
Especially because it didn't turn into anything anyway. So it was really no point to do it.
Also, if that's the okay, if the story you're telling in kayfabe is that Britt Baker is trying to hurt her to win the match and is working the neck,
Which she
then why
was
would you
later on. She
stop?
was working the neck on the
Right.
outside. Yeah.
Then why would you stop wrestling because she's like selling her neck in a way that's supposed to make you worry that she's in like it didn't make any sense. From Britt Baker's character's point of view, you would just keep attacking at that point. So I didn't like that. I thought it was kind of dumb.
But once they ignored that part and got into their rhythm at the end, I think it was better too. When they realized that they could do more powerful moves, I guess, to Saraya, and she could take
Mm.
stuff. I think that helped. I think that helped the match later on. I also think that's one of the reasons why I believe going forward that match could be really fucking good. I do think there's chemistry there. It's just like you said, they're kind of playing it cautious with this match.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is go out there and then have everybody attack Britt Baker if something goes wrong because you know that's how the internet works, just like they did with Sasha. So
Right.
you want to play it safe, make sure everybody gets out of there healthy, and then move forward from there and let her body get through these motions and bumps and shit and see if she can take it. And then the more that she works, the better these matches are going to be. Like she said, yes, she's probably been training for a couple months or whatever, but storyline wise, they're saying that she was only cleared like a week and a half ago or whatever, 2 weeks ago. So when was she gonna ring to work off this ring rust type deal? You know, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
so we got to give her some time. Um, but I don't think it was a bad first. It wasn't better than CM Punk's first match coming back against Darby, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was bad. It could have been a lot worse. That's what I'm gonna say. How about that? It could have been a lot worse,
Yeah.
especially when you're in there with Britt, who is known for getting hurt a lot, just in the wrong spot at the wrong time type deal, like bad luck type stuff. So like
Yeah.
that was interesting. The other thing is I don't want this to turn into Saraya going after Jade because Jade is still very new, and it's only going to take one pump kick to fuck Saraya up probably. So I'm not trying to see that.
Yeah. And also, I don't want to see Saraya be the one to break Jade's streak anyway. I already have a problem with her coming back and beating
I'm
Britt, so
fully under
I
the
wouldn't like that
impression
either.
that Chris Statlander is being waited on to come back and take the title from Jade at this point.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully.
All right, so what
Um,
else we
Now
got going on?
Statlander Saraya would be interesting. I'd watch that.
Um, okay, so let's talk. All right, four way. You brought it up earlier as probably your favorite after the trios.
Yeah,
So
I like this one.
okay, so obviously Jericho won. We both picked Jericho, so that was great. They unfortunately didn't bring Adam Cole back, but we did get good news about Adam Cole and Hangman Adam Page. We'll talk about that in the next segment or whatever. But
mm,
overall, this match was crazy. I think. Oh man, so they had a lot of really good near falls during this pay per view where I was fucked, right? Like four of them in the Tony Storm hater match, right?
yeah.
Like that shit was crazy. Um, they actually did my fucking CM Punk conspiracy theory with the Britt Baker shit, where she came out in the all black and
Mm.
helped out. I was like, what the fuck? They were like taking our scenarios that we were talking about at the very end of the prediction show, like
Use him in
what
the
could
wrong
happen,
match.
and like mix matched them all. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was fucking crazy because they did the hammer thing, right? They did the hammer thing, and we didn't think Phoenix was gonna do it.
Right.
And then you were saying that Swerve in Our Glory was going to win against the Acclaim because Keith Lee was going to get on the same page with Swerve, and they kind of
Right.
switched those two around,
The
right?
switch that
So
with Pax, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So Keith Lee
Yeah.
walks out on Swerve, and they ended up losing the title match with the Acclaimed. And then fucking Phoenix said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna use it." And we both got you got both of them wrong. I got one of them wrong because when we were tossing around the scenarios or whatever, I was like, "Damn, man, they're fucking switching everything around and flipping it all around." Of course, we mentioned the Regal thing too, but the one of the biggest gotcha moments was in that four-way match when Claudio turns around and he gets fucking psycho kneed, and I
Yeah.
thought Danielson had won the fucking match.
I
I
did
was like,
too.
holy shit.
100%.
I cannot believe he kicked out of that shit.
Yep. That was a really good near fall. There were a few spots in that match where I was like pretty fucking certain that somebody else was gonna win, and then they ended up breaking it up or having the person kick out or
Even
whatever.
Sammy.
Uh,
I even thought Sammy was going to win it a couple times.
yeah, there were definitely a couple spots there too. Um, I like the way that they did the dissension between Guevara and Jericho during the match. I pretty much, I mean, it was pretty obvious that we're gonna do it, but I did call yesterday. I was like, there's gonna be a spot in the match at some point where Claudio and Danielson clear the ring, and it's just them two in there, and then they're just like, fuck it, like we gotta fight. So that was a pretty cool spot. Um, yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff going on. The fucking leaping Judas effect over the swing to hit to hit Claudio while he was in the middle of doing the swing on Guevara was cool. There were a lot of really good spots in that match. I like the way it played out. I was fine with it. Um, I think anyone could have won this match and it would have made sense. Jericho keeping it to continue the Ring of Honor beating up the Ring of Honor people thing makes sense. I'm fine with it. Um, and hopefully
So
Adam
are
Cole
you
comes
I mean
back
you're hyped
and
for the Ishii match on Dynamite?
yeah, Jericho versus Ishii will be cool. Um, I did just see that this morning, so that was advertised. Uh, yeah, I mean, I hopefully the end game for this is when Adam Cole comes back. He's the one that takes it off of Jericho, but we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that goes because I think, in my opinion, the only reason they're keeping these titles on guys with big names like we talked about yesterday is
For
because
the TV
he
deal.
in that media scrum, he's still trying to get that weekly TV deal and he doesn't
Hmm.
want to put it on YouTube. He's basically YouTube is a last resort.
Right.
And that's not because Dark Elevation and Dark are not viable options to watch stuff because everyone has access to YouTube. But you can make so much more money on a
Hmm.
fucking network with advertisers and people paying you to have your fucking program on there because you're garnering ratings.
Right.
So that's the reason why. It's not that he hates YouTube or has an issue with YouTube. He can just make more money with that property if it was on an actual station.
I feel like it
So
should be kind of an easy sell too. If you
I
go
feel
to
like
a
it should
network and
be
say, "Look at these numbers that I'm doing on fucking TBS and TNT in the 18 to 49 every Wednesday," and we have a lot of the same people that would be crossover, and
yeah,
it
well,
draw a lot of the same audience.
he can definitely spin this however he wants analytically to make himself look good, especially because he featured Ring of Honor guys and a Ring of Honor World Title match on this show, which he
Hmm.
can link to the $1 Million Gate and the pay-per-view buys and stuff. And then of course, if he puts together a really good show at Final Battle on December 10th, I believe they said it was, which is a Saturday.
Hmm.
If they do really good buys with that, he can also use that to his advantage, but he's going to have to like build up these stars that he's having hold on to these titles. So we pretty much know we're getting a Jericho match and we're getting a Samoa Joe match. So that's pretty cool.
I think the problem
And an
is
FTR match. So like those three matches alone should be able to sell a shit ton of buys compared to Ring of Honor buys in the past, I mean.
depend. Okay, so I think the issue with the TV deal right now is that even if he's pointing at those dynamite numbers and saying like, "This is how well we do," and we have the same people that would be on this station at this time or whatever, is that lately they have been kind of going down in ratings too. I think they did 818 last week, um,
For a go home show.
for a go home show without much competition. It's not great. Um, but I think too the go home show argument, go home shows for WWE are a really big deal because that's you get a lot of stuff that does change on those. Whereas in AEW, it's almost like nothing really changes on the go home show that's going to impact the pay per view. So there's almost not as much impetus to watch a go home show for AEW because everything's building to the pay per view in the sense that the show right before it's not going to change anything in any major way.
Yeah,
So
it's old school. It's the old
yeah,
school go home show type deal. It's almost
yeah,
like back in the Attitude Era, the go home show would be probably the most boring
you
show
have a
because they're
couple
saving it
promos
all for
saying
the
the
pay per
same
view.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a
So
rehash. Yeah, exactly. It's just a
right.
rehash of shit that they've already said and stuff like that. And then pretty much the best thing that came out of the go home shows back then was, hey, just give me this one really good line so I can use it in the video package for the fucking pay per view.
Or occasionally making some stipulation for a match, but it wouldn't change anything significantly. Yeah. Um, I didn't watch Dynamite last week. Um, Not live. I ended up watching it later, but I didn't watch it live. I was
No, I never
because it
watch
was
them
kind of
live
the
because I
same
know,
mentality.
but
I was like, well, I've got it on DVR. I got other stuff I want to do tonight, and I'll just catch it whenever. And probably not much is going to change with the pay per view coming up. So who cares?
DVR numbers are still good numbers though. Like it's still numbers. You got
Advertisers
to
don't
think
like
about
them because you can just
2022.
skip the commercials. That's why.
Okay, so that was the four-way. Let's talk. Let's talk. We talked about
Also,
some Mojo. Let's talk about the triple threat.
real quick, I noticed. So I've got the YouTube TV thing, obviously, because you're on it. Um, when I go to the settings and look at the Nielsen shit, it's all turned off. But I don't have any way to. I don't know how to turn it on. So even when we watch it, it doesn't count for their ratings or whatever. Because for whatever reason,
Do
I
you
just
have to
have that
have
shit
it for
turned
so
off.
long so they can actually build up a history, or is it something that you can just manually turn on and
No,
off?
so when I click the link, it says it's a privacy setting that I should be able to go to some place and turn on. But when I go there, there's not an option to turn it on. So I don't fucking know. But yeah, I mean, I'm wondering how many other people are watching like that and just not getting counted too. So
I mean, if I'm when I'm watching it, it says on demand, so I'm sure there's something in there that says how many times this thing's been played.
for DVR, yeah, but for live
Yeah, okay, I feel you. Yeah, I don't
and
know.
yeah, and the
But
data
that
collection
would hurt
stuff,
everything because I watch football on there too, so that would
yeah,
hurt
yeah,
that too.
it would. But what I'm yeah, so like apparently whatever my privacy settings are on either Google or my fucking phone or whatever has me opted out of that, and it straight up says Nielsen data, whatever, is off. So when I watch it, it doesn't add to that 818,000, even if I was watching it live. So I wonder how many people are also watching it like that. That would change the numbers.
All
But
right, triple
I guess there's
threat.
not
Triple threat
really a
for
way
the
to collect that.
TV title. Wardlow loses it, but not to the person that we picked. We both picked Hobbs. A lot of people were picking Hobbs, actually. I saw on social media. I did not realize how many people thought Hobbs was actually going to win this or wanted Hobbs to win this. We were two of them, obviously. That didn't happen. The person that won it was the person I said wouldn't win it because they wouldn't have him have two titles. And yet, here we are. Samoa Joe wakes up this morning with the TV title in Ring of Honor and the TNT title, which is pretty much another TV title in AEW. So
AEW
thoughts
copying WWE once again,
thoughts
giving
on
this.
Samoa Joe having? I mean, if you're gonna have somebody have two titles, I don't have an issue with Samoa Joe being that person. But when you have Wardlow and Hobbs in that match as the homegrown guys,
It should be Hobbs. It should have been
ugh,
Hobbs.
yeah, like
Like,
that's
yeah.
weird to me.
Um, I think that they saw the success that WWE was having a Samoan guy named Joe be a double champion, and they said, "We're gonna do the same shit." Um, I don't see why they would have had Hobbs not win this. You still would have had Samoa Joe as the Ring of Honor champion. Doesn't hurt him at all. You could have done the exact same finish, but with Hobbs getting the pin instead of a submission. The match was short. It was so fucking short. Did it seem really short to you, or did it just go
Uh,
by quick?
I don't know. I guess. I mean, there had to be some kind of short matches on there.
I guess the Jade Cargill match was short, and this match was short. Because I just remember it was over, and I was like, "Damn, that didn't take long at all." But I guess it makes sense. You got three big ass dudes in there. That backflip splash kind of thing that Wardlow did on Joe and Hobbs when they were sitting in the center of the ring or whatever. That was pretty cool. That was a good spot. I don't. Yeah, it was just the wrong winner. I didn't like it. The match itself was fine. Like it wasn't anything to it wasn't best match on the card or anything, but it was good. It was a good match. I don't like I don't like Hobbs constantly getting fucking shafted like this. He
It sucks
there's
too
so many
because we know Starks is not winning.
right, and there's so
So
many
now they're both going to get shafted back and forth. And this is what your concern was when you decided to split them up early
yes,
in your eyes a few months ago.
yes, they're gonna get put in programs that they're not going to come out on top of. They should have just been tag team champions to build up some of their shit,
Correct.
and
They
then if
should
you
be
want
the
to
tag
split
team
them
that
later.
takes the titles off the acclaimed.
Yes, I agree. Um, and so it's just it was a bad split, and now they're both kind of struggling around mid card and not winning titles. So
Yeah, that's crazy. It sucks because I was going for Hobbs as well. Obviously, we both picked him. Um, let's talk the opening match, the cage match. We talked a little bit about it already when I mentioned the bleeding and everything, but like the comment I made earlier about the BR Live chat being trash is due to this match. So there was a lot of people talking shit and saying it was a weak elbow drop or whatever, and I'm sitting there like, first of all, there's no such thing as a weak 15-foot fucking elbow drop,
yeah,
right?
that's
So
stupid,
like
and it broke the table. What do you mean?
they're mad because he didn't use his hip, and he actually mentioned that in the media scrum too, by the way, that he was thinking about using the hip and driving straight through, but he used the elbow instead because he didn't want to overshoot it because that would have been worse type deal.
Mm,
If you're dropping an elbow, I want you to hit him with your fucking elbow. It was an
yeah,
elbow drop. That did exactly what he was supposed to do. I thought it was badass. Like he was saying, and a lot of people were talking about during his appearance on the media scrum, the crowd went fucking ape shit for him when he climbed that because everybody knew what the fuck it was about to happen. I thought the match was really fucking good. I don't think they could get a better match between Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, honestly.
yeah. It was a good match. It was a great opener. It was a very strong opener. I remember thinking, as soon as the match was over, I was like, if this was WWE 2K22 career mode or whatever, GM mode, the way that like, according to what Xavier Woods says when they're on Battle of the Brands, the ideal way to set up the show is to have like a really strong opener, like kind of mid in the middle, and then a really strong finish. And I was like, fuck, this would be like a really good opening match on GM mode because it's just like a really solid, like easy 4.5 star match. Um, I don't think you could. Yeah, you're right. I don't think you could add a better match between those two. I like that the Christian Cage stuff was pretty much written out of the way early on. with his very bad Skyrim theft and all the guards catching him
I
immediately,
thought it was I
taking
thought
him
it
the
was
fuck out.
hilarious when he took the shit. I mean, and the only reason it didn't work is because he only had one arm, so like he couldn't do it fast enough, and he still got it open anyway. So I thought it was funny. I liked the way it was a little bit different than he didn't just attack the ref and take the key. Like I
Right.
like the way he did it. I thought it was funny. Um,
Yeah.
little slide bullshit heel type tactic.
It just
I thought that
immediately
was
gets
great.
caught though. That's the
Yeah,
funny
yeah,
thing.
it was so fun. Like the dude literally goes around, doesn't see his
It's
shit, and
like,
is like,
hey,
"Oh, I know
why
you
are you
fucking
opening
took
the
it. I'm
door?
chasing you down."
I see you, dumbass. You're 10 feet away from me.
But I like that, and then of course, like you said, they got him out of the way, so he didn't actually affect the outcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that match was really good, and I thank you, Tony Khan. He has we times where we nitpick pay per views because of match placement. I thought the match placement on this card was pretty well done, all things considered. And if you would have just like for instance, if you would have switched the steel cage match to be number 2 and started out with the trios match,
Mm.
the Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus match would have got buried because it was all predicated on the elbow drop from the fucking steel cage, top of the steel cage. Well, then when you see the trios match, if you saw that first, you saw them do all that crazy shit, which means his elbow drop wouldn't have been nearly as impressive. So with the crowd hot, a feud that has a shit ton of story build behind it, and then the one and it all builds up to the one big spot, fucking crowd goes nuts. If you would have just a simple switch of those two matches, you could have buried the entire pay per view and everybody could have got burnt out real fast.
So I thought it was weird to have the Sting and Darby Allen match so late in the card, and then as soon as they started doing all the Darby Allen coffin drop off the ladder shit where Satnam Singh just catches him and those kind of spots, and Sting doing his crazy shit again, um, I thought, you know what, it's probably better that they put this later on the card for pretty much the same reason. Because if you would have put that match first, then Jungle Boy doing the elbow drop probably wouldn't have been as impactful too.
And I also
So,
like that because they put that later on, there was matches that didn't have that kind of stuff, so that when
mhm,
Sting and Darby did it again, it was new again, basically for the
right,
show. It wasn't like,
yeah.
oh shit, we just saw this with Sammy Guevara or whatever. They had other shit in between. I do like the balance between free agent signings and homegrown talent. I feel like it was a really even split on this card. So you had Sammy Guevara in the 4-way match. You had Will Hobbs and Wardlow in the triple threat match. You had Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy together in the steel cage match. You had Saraya versus Britt, obviously. You had MJF versus Moxley. It was a really good split. You had Keith Lee and Swerve versus the Acclaimed. Like, it was pretty 50-50 all the way down the card. I thought that was a nice way to go as well.
Yeah, it worked out really well. I think as far as ranking it with all the other AEW pay-per-views, like it wasn't the best one ever or anything, but it was a very good pay-per-view. It was a very stat card all the way through. None of the matches were, I would say, bad. Like even the ones that I've complained about, they weren't bad matches. Like they were just, average, a little bit slow, like
Let's
whatever.
break it down though. Like, this could have been a disaster pay per view, and I think they over delivered based off of what they gave us. Does that make sense? So like we were saying yesterday, we're at 8 on the scale of 1 to 10 about how hyped we were for the show. You got to take into consideration Kenny Omega wrestled what 2 matches after having a long layoff, then got suspended for 2 more months. Young
Mhm.
Bucks got suspended for 2 months. That was their first match back. Saraya hadn't wrestled in 5 fucking years. MJF barely wrestles. So like if you take all those things into consideration with the injuries and stuff and people coming back and everybody just coming back for this pay-per-view, the wrestling on it was pretty fucking good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean the weakest matches obviously were I feel like the Soraya match and the Nyla Rose match, but I mean even those, like I said, they weren't bad. They just compared to shit like Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm or like MJF and Moxley, whatever, like they weren't gonna
I
stand
mean,
out, but they weren't
I'm
bad matches.
glad, and like Saraya had said in the media scrum, I'm glad they put Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter as the last female match because it would have
I
made
mean
Saraya and Britt's match look even worse.
that plus I mean it's the world championship match. You kind of have to put it later in the
No,
card
I
than the other
agree,
women's
but that's
match.
not usually. I mean, that's not always how Tony does it with that division. Is my point. So like,
Yeah.
I like the way they even set up those 3 matches too. You had the TBS title match, then you had the grudge match, the dream match, and then you had the actual world title match. I think that was a nice way to go throughout the show. And I really was not. I mean, don't get me wrong. We both know that Hayter and Tony Storm have a long history. We both know they can bring it to the ring, but I definitely was not expecting that type of match on this card with two other women's matches and how stacked the rest of the card was. Like, I was not expecting them to get one, that much time, and two, that many false finishes. And yeah, it had a lot of dusty shit that happened in it, like a lot of interference and stuff, but that match was
Look,
fucking so good, dude. That match was really
that's
good. That might be, besides the lights out match with Britt and Thunder Rosa, that might be one of my favorite, or if my actually my favorite women's match in AEW.
I
That
mean
was, it was that good.
that's the difference between people who have wrestled in Stardom and people that haven't. I feel like that's you know you there's a type of experience and a type of wrestling that you learn from having that be kind of where you come up or where you've had experience versus like Jade, like we said, like we both like Jade Cargill and we both like Nyla Rose, but it's just like it's not the same. um I like Britt Baker a lot, but it's not the same. So
All I know is if Jamie Hayter would have hit Sammy that hard, he would have been bitching about it backstage.
yeah, maybe.
Okay. Anything? Oh, let's talk about the tag team match. So Swerve and Our Glory officially or unofficially done, but I guess we'll really get
Pretty sure they're
the
done.
nail in
Yeah.
the coffin, the final nail in the coffin soon enough. But
Yeah.
you think this is gonna turn into a Ricky Starks Hobbs situation where they're gonna eventually get lost too, or what? Because clearly they're
Um,
gonna start fighting each other, obviously. But after that, what's gonna happen?
I'm worried more about Keith Lee getting lost than I am Swerve. Swerve has um I've got no concerns whatsoever about Swerve ending up at the top of whatever the fuck he wants to be at the top of. Keith Lee, um, Keith Lee's kind of in that Miro spot where you could make him world champion tomorrow and it would make sense, but you have to make it make sense, and there's not like a lot of avenues narratively to do it right now, which is the
Yeah, no
problem.
wiggle room.
Yeah. So
Too many people.
yeah, I'm less worried about Swerve than I am Keith Lee for sure.
Do you think a lot of these
Uh,
concerns about the guys that we're talking about goes away if Ring of Honor does have a weekly TV show,
yeah,
and
because
then
you
we
could
don't
always
have them on
yeah,
AEW
absolutely.
anymore type deal? You
Yeah,
get what I'm saying?
yeah, because then you just split up the fucking. You go for the world title over there, and it's not a downgrade at all. Yeah, absolutely.
One of
And I
my
feel like
Go ahead.
the title picture now with Joe having two belts from different companies though is like he's probably gonna drop one at Death Before Dishonor if they have a TV deal by then, but that's only like a month away, so they probably won't. He'll probably keep it. Um, you got to bring Miro back at some point to do something. And then the House of Black vignettes, are they going to keep running those for another 7 fucking weeks and then have them come and challenge whoever wins the series? Or are they going to do something before then?
See, this is what, yeah, and I wanted to get into this um as well. If you announce a seven match series and you already have all the dates lined up,
Aren't you
in
kind of
what
admitting
universe
that it's
does
going
it
to go
make sense
7?
if you got House of Black been fucking doing vignettes and posting shit online and they got to come back and you know they're coming back as a trio? Where do they fit into all this? Because it's not like they're gonna come back as faces, right?
Right. And you're also kind of giving away that it's going to go to the 7th match. There's not going to be a sweep. Because if you're already advertising it for the card and selling tickets with that being advertised, you can't really go back on that unless you say, hey, even if somebody has 4 wins by the 6th match, we're still going to do the 7th. Like you're kind of saying right outright, this is going to go to the 7th match, which you know
I mean, it was gonna go to the 7 match regardless of how they had it set up anyway.
yes, but if you're presenting it as like a competition unscripted like
Well,
whatever.
basically, okay, so if they would have had this last night and they had announced it then, our prediction would have been Death Triangle wins match one. Do you think you would
Yeah,
have been more inclined to say Death Triangle won last night on the
yeah,
prediction show if we knew
because it would
beforehand
just
that it was gonna be a 7 fucking match series?
yeah, because then it would just make sense for them to retain it and then possibly lose it at the end of the series because that makes them look way less bad than just the elite coming back after 2 months off and just immediately winning them back. And like I said on the prediction show, I don't think Kenny would really be into that either. I don't think he would want to come back and just fucking take the titles off somebody that's been carrying them for the 2 months they were out. Just like, oh yeah, we're back. Give us our titles back. Like I don't see any of those three like being okay with that, honestly. So it
And
made
like we had
sense.
mentioned on the prediction show yesterday, definitely not with these three guys because
Right.
of their history with the three guys. Like this is easily your three, or your like we said yesterday, your two of the top four wrestlers in the world,
Right.
and then two of the top tag teams in the world, literally going against each other now 7 times. This could be one of the coolest fucking things we've ever seen, and especially if they go the route of, hey, let's make sure that we make each match different
Yeah.
with a building up, building up, building up. This could be fucking something that we talk about for a long time in AEW.
And there's also so the interesting element of
Also,
this
by the
is
way,
if
before you said that thought, this also will help big time building up the prestige of the Trios Championship.
yeah, for sure. The There's two things. One is that they're all these guys are really good at storytelling in the sense of like callbacks to other matches. So if you have them do a best of 7 series, I promise you there are going to be spots where something worked in like match 2 and then they go for it again and then that team knows how to counter it in match 4 and then in match 6 or match 5 or whatever, they go for that again, they go for the counter, that counter gets countered and then that's how they end up winning or whatever. Like
And you know the best part about
they
that?
all
You know
do
the
shit like
best
that.
part about that is that you have Excalibur there to explain it to you as well.
Give us a video package of all
For
the
the
counters,
people
please.
that aren't watching it. The other thing
And give
is,
me a QR
see,
code.
speaking of callbacks, what you think? We'll talk about a little bit more about the media scrum here. What do you think about Jungle Boys talking about the callback to the Bad Blood match and rubbing it into Luchasaurus' face by coming out with the Shawn Michaels gear?
That was funny, but not as funny as him coming out and eating fucking the cinnamon bun or whatever the fuck he had
It
with
looked
his
like
face
pancakes
all
or something. It looked like
yeah,
pancakes without any syrup or something.
still all bloody, clearly trying to fucking make fun of Punk because there's no reason for his face to still be bloody and he was in the first match and the media scrum is fucking 4 hours later. He 100% did that shit on purpose to make fun of CM Punk. I promise.
Um, what else happened in the media scrum? Okay, so we had Hater. We talked a little bit about Hater. She didn't
Mm.
really say anything groundbreaking in the scrum, but she
MJF.
was. I thought she was going to
MJF.
ignore all the questions about the fans cheering her until somebody literally only asked her that one question. Then she finally had to answer it.
Yeah.
Which was another
Uh,
Will question from Grapsity.
MJF.
MJF, yeah, let's talk about that. Obviously, MJF. You can talk about the match too. Well, we already talked about the match a little bit, but
Yeah.
what do you think about that? I really wish he was more in front of a fucking mic because a lot of that you couldn't
Didn't get
hear.
picked up. It didn't get picked up on the official one, but if you watch one of the other
Yeah,
media
I haven't
streams, you can
watched it
pick it up
yet, but
better.
I did see that somebody was like literally right there
Mm,
recording. I got to watch that one so I can actually hear everything you said. But I mean, I got the gist of it, obviously. But yeah, what do you think
yeah.
about that? And what did
Uh,
you think about him literally quoting CM Punk again?
so again, back to my conspiracy theory. I don't know that he's gone forever. We'll see. But they are referencing him a lot lately. Um, I don't know what you do with him if and when you bring him back. It's not like you're going to have him come in and beat MJF for the title. You're not going to have him come in and go over any of your top guys. You can't really trust him for a while.
Can
So,
I just throw this out there now that we saw what happened last night?
mhm.
Do you guys know that Punk is a Regal guy too? Just saying. Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there. When they had the very first NXT,
Mm,
Punk is a Regal guy too.
yeah,
Just saying.
yeah,
Just throwing it out there.
eh.
And three
Uh,
devils together, bro.
yeah. And the devil making you think he doesn't exist might be Punk.